Good morning, and welcome to part 3 of this series as we ride across America. We are leaving the Salt Flats and heading towards Moab. The wind is already starting to pick up this morning, and it's time to make some miles and stay ahead of the storm that's coming in. If you missed the first 2 videos, we left from Canada heading south to Arizona, taking the quieter routes and learning a lot about the areas we travel. And I'll give you a glimpse to the past and present along the way. Staying in Wendover last night, half the town is in Nevada and the other half in Utah as we turn onto the 93 and head toward the ghost town of Shelborne and the Pony Express. Don't forget to stop at the Wendover Airport, which is worth a visit. This airfield is the most original remaining and operating World War II training airfield in the country, and it's full of restoration projects and stories, and its Museum of Air Force History. Shelborne, Nevada was initially a Pony Express station and later a silver ore mining town, formerly known as Fort Schellborne. Right now we're traveling through Nevada on the 93 and we're going through the Great Basin, which there just hasn't been anything for the last 150 kilometers or so. And this actually is the old Pony Express stop. There's an old hotel here, which is slightly newer than when it was a Pony Express, and I think it's very cool. Good little stop for a stretch before we carry on to a place I think called Eli, and then we turn there and head more east towards Moab. Cool little abandoned hotel. And we're going to take a little walk towards the back to some older buildings. These are kind of fun. Looks like an old well, which is kind of cool. And these are older buildings. They might go back a little ways. At Shelborne and Highway 93, the abandoned motel crosses the route of the former Pony Express Trail. Today, it is Nevada Historical Marker number 51. From 1859 to 1861, the Pony Express passed information from the east coast to the west in as little as 10 days and became obsolete by telegraphs and railways. The Pony Express was a 1,900-mile route with hundreds of horses and 184 stations that were spaced from 5 to 25 miles apart. Originally established as a ranch, McGill was briefly named Smelter in its younger years, when it shipped its first copper from this processing town in 1908. The copper ore was mined in Ruth, about 6 miles west of Eli. We turn left at Eli and head further up into the plateau of the Great Basin on Route 50. It's hard to imagine galloping across this country in the 1800s, long, dry, and hard-going, when even today this immense landscape and the lonely roads, you'll see hardly a car anywhere on the horizon. The road seems endless at times and can make you feel very small in this vast, rugged landscape. Highway 50 is called the loneliest road in America. In 1986, Life magazine did a feature damning this 287-mile stretch, saying, "There are no points of interest," and warned that motorists would need, quote, survival skills to make it through this high desert. And yes, I can totally see and feel that today. We kept our fuel topped up when possible, but you can travel many miles further than expected when the towns on this map either can be out of fuel or there's no gas stations or services for many, many miles. The scenery is expansive and beautiful, but the wind is certainly picking up. The gusts are getting stronger, blowing sand and salt, which is hard to see in the video, but coming through some of the windbreaks, you can see Jonathan wandering around the road, and as soon as we hit the open areas, you can see the leaning camera angles on my bike against the wind. On a lighter note, once we've crossed these high plateaus in the wind of blowing sand and salt, we'll be looking for a good pressure washing on our bikes to get rid of it all. We basically ran into one other lone traveler, and I have to admit it was nice to get stuck behind the RV for a short ways. Sevier, or Sevier, I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced exactly, as you may notice a lot in my videos. But anyway, it's a lake, and it's a closed basin that is intermittent. It dried up in 1880, and it's a remnant of Bonneville Lake, and a source of dust all the way to Salt Lake City. Arriving in Hinckley, Utah, today it is a farming oasis on the other side of the Sevier Desert. Scipio is full of historic buildings and was settled in 1859 and was originally called Round Valley and Craball. In 1866, an Indian raid prompted construction of Fort Scipio, which connected the homes by mud walls for over 20 years. The early settlers made their own fun with dances, a brass band, and an orchestra, rodeos, plays, horse races, foot races, three-legged races, horseshoeing contests, axe throwing contests, cow chip throwing contests, pie eating contests. Those two really don't go together. But anyway, log sawing competitions, parades, and much more. Salina, Utah has kind of an interesting story. The first permanent settlers moved to the area in 1864, and they found abundant salt deposits nearby and named the area Salina, and later coal deposits. But during World War II, Salina contained a POW camp housing 250 German prisoners. The Salina massacre happened while sleeping prisoners were shot from the guard tower by a private named Bertuzzi, who spent his last days in an institution. Following the murders, Bertuzzi was declared insane. There are so many stories and so much history of the settlement days, including that of geological history of this area as well. Most towns you can visit the museum, a library, or the tourist information building to learn along the way. As we ride into Castle Valley, it is Mother Nature's artist celebration of Utah's vibrant red rock formations. The Saltwater View area is located on the north side of Interstate Highway 70, about 52 miles west of Green River. This roadside lookout has a spectacular view of the San Rafael Swell and the stupendous rock formations around it. This view area is on the lonely stretch of interstate between Green River and Salina, where there are no towns or services along the highway for 110 miles. The closest town is Emery. This is Castle Valley, and when I zoom in later on, you'll be able to see the horses that went for water. In the 1860s, Mormon settlers came across the mountain desert to Castle Valley and the San Rafael Swell. It was the last place the Mormon colonizer Brigham Young called people to settle. They were seeking grazing land for their livestock. The watering hole is mid-frame in the green patch right here. As we get back onto the highway for Green River, it is about 110 miles or 177 kilometers without any services from Salina. As we have covered over 800 kilometers today through some of the most stunning country of the Great Salt Basin to the blustery upper plateaus at almost 9,000 feet and these sandstone red rock formations of Castle Valley. Every corner brings jaw-dropping views that exhilarate the ride and keep the adrenaline going mile after mile. dramatic ride this is, including the back roads and gravel. It has a whole new meaning for me on this machine. After 7 years riding the RS, I have to admit getting off the tarmac is so much easier. I definitely need practice, but that will come, and this bike is definitely confidence inspiring. I'm still running the OEM tires, and I'll look for a more aggressive off-road option after this trip. Before I go on and tell you about the town ahead, let's just take a moment to look at these absolutely epic views. Green River, Utah has a rich history that includes the Fremont Indians living in pit houses and known for their canyon rock art between 600 and 1200 AD. Then onto the fur trappers in the 17 and 1800s and the town's first settlement in 1876 that started as a river crossing for the U.S. mail and onto uranium mining from 1940 to 1960. And then the arrival of the U.S. Air Force in 1967. We had a great dinner from the taco truck, which was a local suggestion, and then we went for a walk to look at the missile and information about the Green River test site. We will tuck ourselves into Sleepy Hollow for a restful night. Starting our morning with a good pressure washing to our bikes, we headed down the windy Highway 70 and onto the 128 and into Moab. And this was the start to the land of never-ending cattle guards for the next 3 weeks. I never loved them on my last bike over the years. It's just a thing with me, so every time we crossed one, Jonathan would shout out from the silence and yell, "Cattle guard!" And that was an endless, silly moment on this trip. In reality, I no longer care about cattle guards, but it's just another spot to watch my line on a bike, but that's about it. The GS definitely smooths out the rough, and I have not had a sore back yet on this trip.
Oh, I ain't got time to lose, and I'll be what I am. I got a big bad motor, and you know it's a mean machine. You know I keep it running, and I keep it running clean.
We just stopped for a little break along the 128 and this historical bridge, which was burnt down in a fire years ago. It's kind of a funny feeling listening to all these cables clank in the wind. This is what's left of it. Again, another blistery day on the bike. Beautiful area. Oh, that bike's getting a little bit of a dust bath. Wow. The Dewey Bridge, built in 1916, was designed to support the weight of 6 horses, 3 wagons, and 9,000 pounds of freight. It's significant for its outstanding engineering accomplishment and for its historic role connecting southeastern Utah with Colorado, of which they were dependent on for everyday supplies in the early decades. The bridge remained the longest suspension bridge in Utah until 2008, when it was destroyed by a campground fire that ignited from a boy playing with matches. Engraved here on the plaque is a sentiment that reads, "Bridges are symbols of progress at many levels. Crossing is always a small ceremony ending in the arrival at some place separated from where we were except by this slender link." State Route 128 is a 44-mile or 71-kilometer route, also called the Upper Colorado River Scenic Byway, and it is also part of the Dinosaur Diamond Prehistoric Highway, and it is referred to as the River Road by local residents, as it follows along the Colorado River. I hope you enjoy the views, and please join us next time for Part 5 as we continue into Moab, visit Dead Horse Point at sunset, and walk through Wilson Arch and ride on to Colorado. Please click that like and subscribe and leave a comment if you have enjoyed this video. And as always, thank you for watching, and most of all, live your adventure, and we will see you on the road.